But that's actually quite a good way of looking at it. Like wellness is like the polished version and the self-care is more loose.
Yeah, it's exactly what works for you, you know, like everyone is different. But one person, self-care could literally be going for a run. It's you know, giving their brain a little break from having to think about the day-to-day and giving their body the endorphins that it needs from exercising. For another person, it could be like cross-stitching. For another person, pottery. For another person, it could be cooking. But it's essentially doing an activity and taking time out from your day-to-day routine to look after yourself, whatever that means for you, you know.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think when you think of wellness and self-care do feel separate in a way, don't they? Even though they're the same thing, but like
same thing.
But I kind of, as I'm seeing like wellness, I don't know, I guess it's just the way that it's been presented now and like so heavily curated, it feels more corporate, doesn't it?
Exactly. And it's actually quite sad because essentially at the beginning we, you know, for me it's always been interchangeable. You know, like I got really invested in the wellness industry as a result of like not looking after myself. I was to look after myself in ways that worked for me, and I learned that word was, you know, was wellness. Like the things that I was interested in was the wellness industry, and that's before the wellness industry really even existed. It was right at the beginning, and I worked in branding, so that was the phrase that was starting to be used.
Right.
And so when we first launched it, we would say self-care so much, but people didn't really understand what that meant. So we kind of our tone a little bit and starts talking about wellness. But the problem with the word wellness is now with Instagram as well, we have so many, you know, you have a lot of Instagram influencers who maybe start out well-meaning, but eventually their day-to-day becomes so curated, the advice to their followers becomes so specific that it kind of, a lot of time the word wellness can almost turn people off. Yeah. It starts to feel like a chore. You know, you start to feel like, oh, but like wellness is so intense. Like you have to be vegan, you have to be exercising. You know, if you're interested in wellness, you're essentially must be stick thin. You must not eat any of these XYZ foods. You have to do every day. It's like a tick box thing, which is not how it should be. That's not how I live my life. And you know, my career is about the industry, and I definitely don't live my life that way.
No.
So I'm hoping that, you know, as time goes on, I think more people start to be a bit more real with it. I think that we are kind of entering a phase, not phase, like a time where it's starting to become more transparent and more real. And I think that's kind of one of the good things that has come out of lockdown. You know, people have been in their homes more and connecting with them more. So I think this kind of like realness that's emerging is going to help kind of bring wellness back to where it originally was and how
I guess that's the thing, like, that's not for those people that kind of, it's that journey, like you said, like being a wellness person, doing all the things and then being very heavily curated, it's not sustainable.
No, and it gives you burnout. Like, you know, the whole idea of taking care of yourself is to avoid burnout. So, you know, and I feel like I've been there as well. I think when we first started Glow Bar, I didn't look after myself at all. You know, but
that's like a pitfall, I think, that so many people fall into, like when they start something, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I was still like trying to tick all the boxes because I was like, I have to tell people that I'm doing all of these things.
Especially because you're working in that place.
They buy my products and come to my space if I'm not doing all of these things. So I was like trying to do a million things at the same time, and actually nothing was actually what my body needed, because what I actually really needed was sleep. To learn how to prioritize my tasks better. Like for me, that in that moment was self-care, not only relying on adaptogens, not only relying on infrared saunas, you know. And actually I wasn't even exercising, and for me that's a huge part of self-care. It is exercising. And I wasn't exercising because I was literally working from like 6 a.m. until midnight every day. Crazy person.
Yeah, well that's the thing. And I think when people think of certain things for self-care, it's just a quick fix. Like the adaptogens, the infrared saunas, like they're great, but it's like you said, it's having boundaries and prioritizing. It's the very mundane version of what actually self-care is in a lot of ways.
A lot of girls come into Glow Bar and they say, tell me what I need. That's literally and they go, okay, well, talk to me about your life, like what's going on, you know, like what are you concerned about? Is it your skin? Is it your mood? Is it, you know, like do you have really bad PMS? Like what is going on in your life? And they'll be like, I don't know, but I just feel like I need everything. And I'm like, well, that's not the solution ever. Like no one person ever needs everything, you know, like miserable if you're taking a million supplements and doing every single thing that everyone tells you to do. So eventually, you know, like it comes down to the fact that sometimes someone's like, well, it's my gut. My gut's giving me loads of issues. Like I'm stress eating and my gut's giving me loads of issues. So then I'm like, well, I would only recommend one herb. I'd recommend, you know, I'd probably recommend to you to take ashwagandha to manage the stress so that you're not stress eating. And then I would recommend that you start to clean your diet up. And it's day to day. So like, you know, don't eat so food that you know irritates your gut. Don't eat so quickly, you know, be mindful about what you eat. So don't like eat in front of the TV or what.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about taking a million supplements to heal your gut. It's about also changing how you're approaching your day and how you're also framing your mind. So if you're super stressed, like why are you stressed? Like, are you meditating to help sort of alleviate that stress? Are you doing exercise? You know, I'm like, it's all about small sustainable changes that you make in your day that help you feel better. It's different for every person. So I was like, you know, that's for you. But for me, my issue is in the stressed gut. You know, my issue right now is probably more to do with hormonal balance. So I have a different routine based on my need. So it's very interesting having those conversations, and it happens every day. Like
but I do, like, even when I do pop-ups and I sell crystals, and people are like, what do I need? Like it's the same thing, like what's the crystal for anxiety? But I don't think people give themselves enough space to actually just check and ask themselves, like, what do I need? We're so programmed to be like, find the answer on Instagram or Google or from someone, or that influencer that that wellness influencer that you're following, rather than listening. So like, what is my body telling me through that gut issue, like through that through whether they're not sleeping or not? I guess we're not practiced, and it doesn't come naturally to ask yourself that, is it? I think
we don't trust, as a generation, I feel like in general we don't trust ourselves. We never trust that we know what we need, even though deep down we always do.
Especially when we ignore it.
We're a generation who's used to like Q&As, like before Instagram it was on Reddit, you know. We're a generation who's used to having massive friendship groups where we rely on each other for advice for everything, you know. We were a generation who's had a lot of hand holding, much more so than our parents and our grandparents in so many different areas. It's great in so many ways, but it also means that we just literally, like, we don't trust ourselves to know that we actually do know what's best for us. Like, sometimes I talk to my girlfriends, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to tell you the answer. Like, talk it through. You know, problem solve on your own. I already know the answer, but I'm pretty sure, like, I'm 100% certain you know the answer. Half an hour, they're like, actually, I think that I need to do this, and I'm like, there you go.
And I think it's just so much more empowering. I get asked a lot, like, get DMs like, what course should I do for crystals, or like, what tarot course should I do? And I'm always hesitant to say like who I've taught with, not that it's a secret, but also for me, part of my journey was finding the teachers synchronistically, and like I might not know like an incredible teacher that is actually meant for them.
You were drawn to that teacher for specific.
And I think for me, all of my teachers I found very synchronistically through being in the right kind of being open to it and kind of exploring it, doing the research, and kind of being in the right place at the right time. And I don't think people trust that. It's like, I've got to find that teacher or that shortcut or that quick fix.
They don't know how to listen to that inner voice that says like, this is the right thing. It's in so many ways. And I'm like, and I always tell people, I'm like, do you not think that I was not also scared?
You know? Of course.
Everyone who's on a path, on any journey, is also scared. But you have to learn to trust in yourself and move through the fear to get to where you want to be.
It's just having more self-reliance. I think that's how I can imagine that people will be like looking at you and like having glow bar and being like, oh my god, how has she done that? How does that happen? And it's like, I bet you might Google it, or you might have Googled a few things of like how to do it, but I'm sure for you it was like, I've just got to make this happen. I don't know how I'm going to do it, and let's go.
Every day was just like, but I tell people all the time, I'm like, you just learn by doing it. Like, we make like a million mistakes a day. Like, I'm literally like an imperfect. We're all imperfect people, and I am an imperfect person.
But we all, I'm only laughing because it's like, but it's so not so true because you are like that we all are.
like, I make so many mistakes a day, and I'm always having to learn from them, but that's the only way you can ever build anything that you want, whether or not it's your own business, whether it's a hobby that you want to have to become good at. Like, we were just mentioning earlier that I started doing pottery, and pottery, is the ultimate hobby if you want to learn about failure, because
so many ceramicists say that.
your clay collapses all the time. So like, if you're about to get like a beautiful mug like this, which I still have to make, and this is not mine, this is an incredible ceramist. But you think, you're almost there, you're like, I'm gonna get it. I mean, I'm pulling up the walls, it's perfect. And literally within like half a second, it all collapses. Half a second, it all collapses, and all the hard work from preparing your clay to, setting up your station, to getting all your technique right, you would have spent maybe 25, 30 minutes in total working on something, and within literally like that split second, it all goes wrong. And it all collapses, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no point crying about it. There's no point getting frustrated, because it's going to happen again and again and again. Amazing ceramists, it happens to them all the time. That's just the way it is. And you just like clean up the station and you start all over again. And it just teaches you that that's life. It's a perfect metaphor, really, for life.
Definitely.
I love about it.
Well, I think it's just making me think, because for me, learning the pottery and like ceramics, is that like a lockdown thing that came through? So
sorry,
what were you going to say?
I did one class last summer.
Yeah.
And a hand building class. And I was like, I love this. I literally fell in love the moment I did it. And then, like every business owner, I just let my work again take over. And for almost a whole year, I just literally kept, I kept saying to myself, I really need to go back. But I'm so busy. I need to work. And I prioritized other sort of self-care habits and hobbies. Things, like I wouldn't, they are self-care, like things like I go to yoga, I go to school, I make sure I prioritize doing my farmers market shop, because I love to cook with fresh produce, like it's my soul. So I prioritize all of those things over taking up ceramics, because I was I'm a very time poor person, as you are as well. And over lockdown, I bought some like modeling clay, which is what children use. And you can't it's not the kind of clay you can use to make like a mug or a plate, decorative objects. But I started making some vases at home, just made from it, just to like use my hands and to relax my mind. And I was like, you know what, I actually really do love it. And it was looking like we were going to be in lockdown for a long time. And I lived alone. I wasn't seeing anyone. My friends all didn't live in the same area as me, so I couldn't even like do a distance. So I went online. I bought a really cheap wheel, like a tabletop wheel. So it was like way cheaper than a normal.
Yeah, wheel. I saw that in your stories. I was like, she is going in.
I have a project called Freya, who I'm friends with, and she was like, you don't do anything half-assed, do you?
No.
I was like, I'm an Aries. I was like,
I'm an Aries too, yeah.
Aries energy, seriously.
Definitely, it's like, it's all or nothing. You like put your mind to it and then just like go. But I think that's like, for me, during lockdown, I started doing couch to 5K. And which is like, at the beginning I was like, oh my God, I ran for a minute without stopping. And now I'm up to like 28 minutes without stopping. But from like how you were saying with this, when you're doing like working with ceramics and clay, and like it's teaching you about failure and that resilience to it. For me, doing the couch to 5K was teaching me about pushing my limits. So each time you think like, I can't do this, it's like pushing and realizing actually like no one knows your potential, like not even you, even though like when I'm running and my brain is like, stop, what you doing?
Mental stamina though is so important, because actually your body can do so much more than your brain realizes, and it's really about saying to yourself, like your mind is saying no, but like what would happen if you just pushed a little bit further? What would happen?
Exactly.
If you're on a run and you're a fit young person, so like nothing bad is really going to happen. So
no.
Push through it. So but it's amazing at the end.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's like having these hobbies or experiences that you do, like they teach. It's like everyday wisdom, really. It's not just kind of I don't know, these things that we take for granted. I think often people are seeking these spiritual lessons and they're reading the books and listening to this podcast for like some like mega wisdom, but actually it's like, do some clay work, go for a run, like, you know, there's so much magic and wisdom and medicine to be found in other things that are experience, like and when you're in that moment and you're in that experience.
Exactly. And I just think that like one of the things that I did sort of realize during lockdown was that I think our generation is a generation of like trying loads of things. Like, especially if you live in like a major urban city, you can like do like a 1 hour course on this and a 1 hour course on that. And it makes us kind of like very sort of like semi-jacks of all trades, where we like not very good at anything, but I have done lots of different things. And I found that once you kind of decide to really, if you put your mind to committing to actually honing something, whether it is like making sure you can run 5K without stopping, making sure that, you know, like my ambition, you know, with ceramics is to be able to make myself all of my own crockery. Like I want to make
amazing,
have a goal in mind. So it means I have to do it constantly. I have to be diligent and dedicated, you know, and I have to give it the time that it deserves. And I think once you look at a hobby through that lens, you start to learn the lessons because you're committed. And a lot of us don't know how to commit to anything.
Yeah.
We're just like, oh, I'll just try that. Oh, I wasn't very good at it, so I won't do it again. No one's good at anything the first time they do it, like ever, you know, like, oh, I thought about starting a business and I started trying to start up a Shopify page, and it looked really complicated, and I realized I probably wasn't very good at it, so I stopped. I'm not doing it now. Well, I was like, well, no one's good at setting up a Shopify page. It's really complicated.
You just got to, but it's just having that resilience and just pushing beyond that, because I think when you're trying to learn something new or do something different, your inner critic, your ego will drag you back by the hair, like, what are you doing? And we'll be saying, like, stirring up all this like imposter syndrome, I think a lot of the time is what gets in the way, or comparison, because then you look at maybe someone else that's done something similar and you're like, oh my god, theirs is so good, mine will never be there. But I think it's so easy for people to look at where people are, maybe to someone that maybe they're aspiring to, that maybe is like 5 years ahead of them. That's all, you know, that has, and forget that person was exactly where they were with the Shopify website, being like, I can't do this. But instead of saying, you know what, this isn't for me, it's like, okay, well, how can I YouTube what to do, or how can I ask someone, who can I ask for to actually help me get to that next level?
Exactly. I think people always forget that everyone actually starts in the same place. Like, no, you know, I had this conversation with so many of my friends about sort of like strength of character, and some of them are always like, oh, I don't have that, you know, I'm not strong like you or you or you, you know, and I'm like, no one's born that way, like, at all, you know, like, you just have to start and just keep going. And every time you face a hurdle, you just have to figure out how to get over it. That's how someone gets from A to B, you know. And just because someone's at B doesn't mean they it was like a sprint, doesn't mean they just walked over there. They didn't even like sweat. You know, they probably found it really, really hard, but they just managed to get there. So,
what how, and like thinking of like that journey, how did you like Glow Bar, how did that happen?
Gosh, so
you've got, so for anybody that doesn't know Sasha, like, Sasha's got, it's like one of my, like, is it my, I think it could be my, no, it is my favorite place in central London. Like, if I'm there, I will always make the effort to like go, because it just feels like this little haven. And like I was saying, like before we started recording, like, it feels like just self-care, but not in a cheesy cliche way of like hashtag self-care. It's the drinks, it's the experience, it's the, I guess, the aesthetic, and then you've got the infrared saunas as well. But just that feeling, and I think just that your team as well that you've got is just like, yeah, I just love it. Like, I just feel like I don't know, what was that, was it Cheers or something, and everyone goes and
yeah
in Boston.
It's kind of like that for me.
Yeah,
not the same people, and everyone just knows each other.
Yeah, that's how it feels. Or you'll always, I always end up like bumping into somebody that I know, or like you, or other people as well. But like, how did that come about? Like, what was the moment that you had the idea for like Glow Bar?
So it was the journey itself is very, very long, but essentially the idea for the space and our products and the company in total came about while I was at culinary school. So I'd moved back from New York to London in 2016 to go to culinary school. I was working in advertising. I got really interested in wellness, as we were discussing earlier, and as a result of pushing my body too hard in many ways, and I was eating in specific ways, I was taking different herbs, I was doing a lot of yoga and working out, looking after myself, and I've just really fell in love with wanting to share this sort of way of living with people. But initially I thought it would only purely be through food. So I decided to go to culinary school, and I didn't really know kind of where that would take me, but I thought I would maybe essentially start doing low inflammation cooking, because I'm really passionate about making sure people are educated in how they eat as well, because a lot of us, we think that healthy food is really terrible and dry, but it's not. And I'm from a country where we eat very healthy, like Indian food is, when it's cooked properly, is very healthy actually, but it's super, super tasty in different ways. It's all inspired from Ayurveda. So I was at culinary school, and at the time I was talking to loads of my friends who lived in London and who were over here, and I'd been away from them for so many years. I was in the States for 5 years, and so every time we saw each other, it was just like catch up in the pub, really quick, surface level, because you're only with someone for an hour. And we started really get that going in, and I was asking them about their lives, and it just turned out that everyone was super stressed. Like all my friends were super, super stressed and no one knew how to look after themselves. Like there was just no concept of well-being in any way. And I was like, well, why don't you at least start by trying to take some herbs? Like they were like, what? I was like, no, like I was just not
those herbs.
Yeah. And they were like a witch, like what are you trying to tell us? And I was like, no, not a witch. I didn't go to America and come back a witch.
Yeah.
But I've been taking these herbs for ages. Like a lot of you have actually seen them in my kitchen and not really know what they were. And when I was at boarding school with most of my friends, I always took weird supplements anyway. So they were.
So is that how you've been brought up as well?
So I wasn't brought up taking adaptogenic herbs, but I was always brought up to take weird things.
Right.
So my mum used to mail me like supplements when I was at boarding school. When all my friends got chocolate in the post, like I was getting like green powders, tablets. I was like, my mum sucks.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? There's one brand called Life Extension. At the time, they only had one product, which was called Life Extension powder, and it was like a well-being powder. They
Yeah.
were like, oh, have you taken your Life Extension? So embarrassed. My mom's weird.
But now I bet she's like, oh, look now.
Seriously, I'm like a traditional Chinese doctor, like on speed dial in my house, and like my brother's really tall, and my mum like made him drink this like tonic for height, and he's really tall now, so he's like, well, see, like he's like, what Indian man is 6 foot? Your brother's 6 foot. What? So he's like, okay. So I was always really interested in it. So my friends had always just be always consuming weird things anyway. And I used to have my herbs in mason jars in my kitchen, and they would always like not even ask. Like, most people would be like, "What's that weird thing in your kitchen?" So used to it, they're just like,
"Yeah,
as usual." I was like, weird things I have in my kitchen. Well, you can just put them in your smoothies. They taste really good. Smoothies, and you can make drinks with them with like almond milk. And at the time, like no one was even drinking almond milk. So they were like, almond milk? Like you can't get milk from an almond.
Like insert some weird joke about milking an almond.
Exactly. I was like, well, I can teach you how to make your own almond milk if you want to. I just realized there was just no education about anything, and I was like, well, here are some like like brands from America that you can take, because at the time there were literally no brands in the UK selling these. It was really hard to find them, and there were a couple of brands in the States who I knew had good quality products, but they were just so expensive anyway. I feel like well-being products in America are very expensive because they can. People are willing to spend a lot more. Also having to pay for postage and then paying for VAT once they were imported. It was just like racking up so high. And they were like, we just don't want to take them. They're too expensive and we don't trust them coming in from the States. And for me, that was a bit of a like light bulb moment where I was like, I'm really passionate about this. I've literally spent hours trying to tell my friends to take them. I've been taking these herbs since I was 22, and I've invested in this sort of stuff anyway before that. But when I was 22 is when I started taking Ashwagandha, which is now a best-selling herb. And I was like, I just know so much about it. Like I have so many books. Like I had like a mini library on my bookshelf of the herbs. And so I was like, I'm going to start a herb brand. My parents are like, we just helped you go to culinary.
Classic.
You want to start a herb company? It's like,
it's still connected though.
I was like, well, you know, I mean, you have to put herbs in food, so, you know, and they were like, okay, well, this is what you want to do with your life. Like, we support you. Like, we know that you know what's best for you. So just do your thing. Go off. And so while I was formulating, I started formulating our blends. I decided to launch with a few single herbs, and I wanted to launch with 3 blends. I did a lot of work researching those. And when I was asking a lot of people a lot of questions regarding their needs, I realized I was having to explain the concept of the herbs during my interviews with people. And I was like, this is so hard to do, like, just over the phone or like by WhatsApp. It's going to be even harder to do if I only have a website. You know, like, this is just so new for London and for England as a whole. I need to be in front of people. Like, I need to be talking to them. I need to have people talking to people and educating people. I need to show people how they can put them in drinks and to have a full experience where you can understand what it really feels like to look after yourself and how these herbs can be part of a holistic thing. Because I was also telling people, you should take ashwagandha to help manage your stress, but it's not the only thing you should be doing to manage your stress.
Yeah.
You know, and I was trying to tell people it's all about looking after your body, your mind, you know, your spirit. All those, that kind of trilogy is so important. And then that's when I had sort of a secondary, like, eureka moment where I was like, I just need to have a space. So then my parents were like, so primary school, now you want to have a herb company, and now you want to open a physical space in central London. Good luck to you. Have fun. I was like, I know I'm mad, but trust me, I think this is going to work. Everyone, literally every single person I spoke to told me I was mad.
So how did you overcome, like, what with that? Because I think that is, like, even when I started doing, really coming out of the spiritual closet, because I'd always been into spirituality, crystals, tarot, but when I started really kind of being open about it and like, yeah, I want to go to Bali for 2 months to be an apprentice to a shaman, and like, people were like, what are you what are you doing now? And like, I think when people are kind of forging their own path that is very different, you are going to get people that are like, what, that just don't get it. And I think that I always say, just don't waste your time trying to convince them, just do it. Exactly. And then show them. But how was it for you when people were like, you're mad, what are you doing? how did you respond to that, or how did you navigate that, trying to make it happen?
Luckily, I've always been the kind of person that sort of like marched to the beat of my own drum. In a sense, like, I've never wanted to conform. So like, when all my friends are wearing like Miss 60 jeans, I was like dressed like Avril Lavigne, even though they were a lot of other stuff. Like, yeah. I like to think that I was alternative when I was a teenager. So for me, it was kind of a plus. I was like, well, you think I'm mad, but like, I think that I'm really cool. So are really cool, and I really believe in them. Also, I was lucky that I had the experience I had beforehand. So I did, you know, I worked in branding and in digital marketing in my last job. I was one of the members of a small group of people who did sort of, we did like millennial and Gen Z research. So I had lots of access to trend reports beforehand that showed that this industry was really exploding, and it was about to explode, and that actually a lot of people said that they didn't know that they needed something, but then once they were shown a product or a service or a way of thinking or a practice like meditation, for example, they never frowned upon it or thought, I don't need it. But once they implemented it into their life, they realized how much they actually needed it, because of the way our life was going and how heavy we rely on technology these days, and a lack of sort of looking after ourselves and connecting with, you know, nature and sort of methods of the past, you know. So I kind of had a lot of research that showed me that I was kind of on the right track. That, I guess, combined with wanting to march to the beat of my own drum, combined with what I think every entrepreneur needs, which is kind of like an unbridled confidence in yourself. You just have to really, really believe in yourself to the extent where people are like, are you like okay? I don't believe in yourself that much, but you really have to. And I also have actually practiced The Secret for a really, really long time. Alex gave me the book just before I moved to New York, actually. And I really found that that way of thinking has really like helped, like kind of catapult me into every situation that I've ever had. This sort of situation where like I truly believe in my brain, I truly verbalize that what I want is going to happen. And I feel like that really helps me as well, like just kind of navigate and drown out the noise, you know, the other people's negative thoughts and words, and just focus on what I believe is right.
And I think what were you gonna say?
I think a lot of people probably think that's also crazy, but
no, I don't. No, crazy to crazy. No, definitely not crazy. But I think that's the thing. When you believe in it, people believe in it. But when if you're not fully committed to what you're doing, other people pick up on that. And because they just want to make sure that you're okay, or they don't want you to fail, you know, like, because they're also projecting their own limiting beliefs on that person. So but as soon, it's a bit like, I don't know, like sharks smelling blood and like they're there, like not that it's that extreme or dramatic, but if you're not fully behind it, people pick up on that, and I think they will always question it. And then if you're not fully behind it, that question, that can kind of seep in, and that's when things get a bit shaky. And I think that's why I said it's so important to just be very clear on what your mission is, to help you kind of tune into, because when you know what you're doing, and also connecting with your why, I think that's a big thing, isn't it? It's not like 1 minute saying, why am I doing it? It's like, because I really believe in it, or this is really going to help somebody, or this just feels really strong in my body that this is where I need to go. I think that just gives us the driving force. But when we're not connected with the why,
I totally agree.
It kind of, yeah.
You ask me, like, you know, they say, like, I want to start a wellness company. I really love what you've done. Like, you know, like, how can I go about doing it? I'm like, well, what do you want to do? You know, they say, well, I don't know. I just want to do something in wellness. Like, I just love Glow Bar, and I love crystals, and I love this, and I love that, and I want to do something. And I'm like, okay, but like, what about it do you love? Like, what do you truly believe in? Like, what has helped change your life? Because for me, like, the herbs have changed my life.
Yeah.
You know, saunas are something that I did when I was in America, and also in Malaysia, and I loved them. And I decided that they were a great way to kind of implement, so you could have this full experience.
Yeah.
Really, the pinnacle of my brand was about the herbs. And I truly believe in them. Like, they changed my life. And anyone who meets me can, you know, when I talk about it, they can really tell that it comes from a huge place of authenticity. You know, I'm not, you know, not fibbing. You can
yeah, you've not picked up on a fad and you're like, oh yeah, these herbs, like you're
you know, like I truly believe in it, and I'm truly invested, and I'm truly, you know, trying to educate myself always, and learning, and open to new research and everything. And so I say to people all the time, I'm like, what do you believe in? Like, what is authentic to you? You know, like, say her name's Sarah, like, you know, if one of your friends, if I had to just, you know, whenever ask your friend, you know, Sarah, ask your friend to tell me, what does Sarah truly believe in terms of well-being? Like, what would they say about you? You know, is it that you meditate every day for 1 hour without, you know, without fail, because you cannot do your day without meditation? That you're always carrying a rose quartz crystal in your bra because, you know, and you have done since you were 13, you know, because you've always felt like that's helped you to feel more love for yourself. Like, what is it, you know? And only then, when you ask yourself that question, will you understand what you should be doing. Because otherwise, it's a marathon. Like, running a business, you know, is really, as you know, Tamara.
Yeah, I'll just take a breath then. I was like, yeah.
Like, it's absolutely exhausting. And if you don't truly believe in what you're doing, and if it's not something that you have so much passion for that you have to share it, that's the reason you're doing it, then you're going to burn out really quickly, and you're not going to be able to survive it. Because it takes, I mean, I've been working on Glow Bar for almost 3 years now, and we've been open for 2. And, you know, we're still not exactly where we need to be in order for me to feel happy with it. And for a lot of people, they would say, oh God, how can you do that then for that long? You know, the only thing that kind of gives you that stamina is passion and authenticity. I really believe that.
Yeah. I think, and like borderline obsession.
Lots of obsession.
Yeah. Like, even like, I've been like getting my like new website done, and it's like not quite right. And like the other Saturday night, I was just like, because it's just too easy to get on my laptop, and then you're like fiddling around with it, and it's like, oh my God, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like thing. And it's just, tomorrow, step away from your laptop. Like, this is too much. Like, this is a Saturday night. This doesn't need to be happening. But there is, I think, I'm not advocating that. I'm not saying that is healthy.
Boundaries get very blurred, don't they?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing where it's like, oh, like I think what is it they say, like when you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And that's where the boundaries get blurred, because you don't feel like you're working, and that's why it's hard to switch off. That's where the burnout comes, because you're excited, but all you really care about, so you want to just get it to that finish line. It's so hard to like prise your fingers off whatever you're doing and like recharge. And that's so important. How have you found out with running Glow Bar and just nurturing it and getting it kind of closer to where you want to be? Like how has burnout been for you?
Oh gosh, well, honestly, like I had not rested until just before lockdown. So I saw you just before I went to Tulum.
Yeah.
It was a very badly timed trip because I was like, I'm gonna go be alone for 2 weeks, and then I came back and it was lockdown, and I was like, now I'm alone for 3 months. But that was really my first proper break. That was for me. I'd taken little holidays here and there, but they were, you know, to be with my friends so that I could really nurture my friendships, or, you know, be with family and connect with them. But I'd never taken a break where I fully allowed like my soul to recharge, and wasn't on emails and stuff like that. So that's, you know, that was almost 2 years after we launched our products in January 2018. So that was 2 years from our launch date was the first time I was able to properly recharge. And I think that I did burn out. I burnt out I had a bit of a burnout the Christmas that we launched. So we launched in August, and I went home for Christmas and I was just a bit of a wreck. I was absolutely exhausted. I was really stressed because I just felt like we hadn't met any of our targets, and we have really high operational charges being in central London. So as pretty and as glamorous as the space and the job seems, there's a lot of really boring, stressful things that, you know, every person who has brick and mortar has to deal with. So I kind of had a bit of a burnout then, and I decided to try and sort of structure my team a bit better. There was only 3 of us at the time. So I structured my team a bit better. I made some sacrifices and brought a few additional people onto the team. And that helped me a little bit. And then at the start of this year, I actually ended up delegating a lot of our marketing efforts off my plate, because I'd always felt like I could just do them because I come from a marketing and branding background. I was like, well, I'll just do it. And the problem is then when I'm the business owner and I'm trying to figure out how the future of the business is going, but then I'm the person also answering all the Instagram DMs, solving everyone's problems on Instagram, and rebooking sauna sessions, and doing all the advice for the herbs, and also making sure that the website copy is always constantly modified.
That's like 5 different jobs for 5 people, and you're doing it.
I was finding it exhausting, and I found that I was almost too accessible to people. And I love connecting with the fans of the brand. Like I absolutely love it, but I was finding it really tiring having because also like the person who does my social media, like she has work boundaries because, you know, she doesn't know.
She's getting paid.
Boundaries, so she's not going to go on Instagram at 11 p.m. on a Saturday night and respond to someone's message. For me, I was like, I have to respond to it. That person's not going to buy this product if I don't respond to that. You know, like I have that fear, I have that. And so I was like, you know, I was always on my phone like this. I was never present at a single meal with my friends. I was constantly on the Instagram checking, responding to customer queries, you know, rebooking sauna sessions for people, doing everything. This is the problem with mobile phones. So that, and then going to Tulum literally right after I handed that job over to a girl called Ellie, who actually used to work for me in the cafe, is kind of like what's kind of helped me now find balance. And I find that I'm able to really focus on my tasks much better, and it's like changed my life.
What do you think, like what's like the biggest lesson that you've learned from like running Glow Bar and having your own business? Oh
my god, there's so many.
Top 3?
I think the first one, I tell this to a lot of people who ask a similar question, just like when I meet people in the shop and stuff. I always say that the first lesson you always have to learn about running, what I've learned about running my business, and is applicable to every business, is that it's a marathon. You're in a long haul. And like a marathon, I've never run a marathon, luckily for me.
I think couch to 5K is my limit.
I have a lot of friends who run them, and they always say that you have these horrible moments in the middle of them where you feel like you can't go on, you feel like you've run out of water or energy, and it's really difficult, you know, and you really have to pull from a place within you that you didn't know you had to find the strength to continue. And that's what I really have found with running a business, is that the beginning is like, you're like, that's great, it's so fun, it's like, love it, just a walk in the park. And then it gets really, really tough, and it can be really uncomfortable and really painful, because sometimes you have to make hard decisions. Sometimes you have to face the mistakes that you've made and take on some really harsh criticism that a lot of the time, you know, is appropriate, and you have to adjust, you know, how the business is run so that you can give people what they need and what they want. But then, you know, towards the end, it starts to feel, you know, it gets easier, it gets better, you get that euphoria because you've done a good job. So like, it's worth it in the end, but it can get hard. So I would say that's probably the main lesson that I've learned. I think the second lesson that I've really learned is learning to trust other people to do their jobs.
Like, yeah, I need to get better at outsourcing.
I'm so bad. Literally, like, I was answering DMs when I was in Italy, and Ellie was like, "Don't do my job." And I was like, "Oh, you know, I just happened to be on the Instagram." She was like, "No, like, you're a control freak. Like, leave it alone."
But then when it's your baby, it's so hard to completely give that over, isn't it?
Exactly. And I'm always like rushing behind the counter, like taking people's orders and making their coffees in my like, I can do this. This is my job. You hired me for this purpose. Like, go back to your laptop, like, do your work. Like, fine.
But it's because you love doing it as well.
Exactly. You know, like, we all do what we do because we love it. You know, you have to trust that other people are also really good at their jobs, and they're there to help you. They're there to support you. You hired them for a specific reason, you know, and it is like a great investment to hire these people. I think, you know, at the beginning, I didn't want to hire anyone. I had two conflicting pieces of advice. My godfather,
what were they?
My godfather on one hand was saying, you need help. You cannot do everything on your own. You're not a one-trick pony. You're not good at everything, and that's okay, you know, but you need to delegate to people. Otherwise, you can't do what you're supposed to do. And on the other hand, my dad is super traditional. He was like, do everything, save money, do all the jobs, hire no one, no, don't sleep. You don't need to sleep. For 5 years, you don't need to sleep. And I was like, okay, Daddy, I won't sleep.
So on that treadmill, go.
My godfather and everyone was like, you need to sleep. You know?
Wow, yeah.
And then my mum was like, oh my God. You know, all my friends were like, oh my God, we don't see you ever. We never see like, you're a shell of a human, you know.
And were your friends quite like, how was that for you? Like, were your friends quite vocal?
Yeah, they're very good. You know, my friends have been my closest friends in my life. The majority of them have been very close to me since I was like 7 years old. And then I've got one who I'm very close with, who I worked with. So she knows what I'm like when I'm like in work mode. So they would say to me, you know, like, we haven't seen you in ages, and that's fine. We're not suffering.
Was it more of an intervention?
Like, where are you? Like, you need to take a break. You're gonna burn out. Or they come over to check in on me. That's the best thing about being in central London. Your friends can just like pop in.
Yeah.
But
then I guess that's tricky, because then you're like, oh, but I've seen you.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't.
They come in to check in on me, but they just be like, you look terrible.
Yeah, I'm fine.
They're like, you look absolutely terrible. You need to like have a do face up. Practice what you preach.
Yeah.
Come on now,
get in that sauna.
Where I wasn't practicing what I preached at all, and I really got the ask where I was like, I'm telling people to do things that I don't even do myself at this moment, and why? I'm telling myself I'm too busy, but I'm telling people that they can't tell themselves they're too busy. You know, I was like, I can't do this. Like, that's not why I started this company. That's not what I believe in. The way I live my life is exactly what I'm trying to help people to combat. And that really did help pull me out of that. And that's when I started realizing and investing in my team. And I also realized that if I had people who were really good at their jobs, my business would make enough money to pay their salaries, you know, because it's like only so much that you can produce as one person. More hands are better than one. So yeah, it was it was a very sort of like steep learning curve in that aspect, because I did suffer quite a lot, but in a sense I was so tired and I was like
it's on the go.
I went scuba diving last spring, and like literally just before I kind of started to delegate more, and I ran through my oxygen tank in half the time.
Wow.
Breathe too fast, like you need to get down. And I was like, this is how I always breathe.
Yeah.
They were like, you need to slow down, like you cannot breathe this fast, like healthy. And I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, and I think that's like, have you ever done breath work?
I've done a little bit with like I think I've done a little bit with when I've done some meditation with you, and I've done Jess Boston, who I've done some hypnotherapy with, but I don't do enough of it.
But I think breath work, so like breath work, I feel like weird saying it. You know when you say a word and all of a sudden you're like, did I say that right? Like,
it's
breath work.
2 words.
But it is, I find it so powerful. But whenever I've done like a breath work session, so I really like Richie Bostock. He's like the breath guy. Okay. He does these incredible sessions, and we've got his own app now called Flourish, but he was doing a lot of Instagram lives over lockdown. And I think breath is just something that we do all the time, but we don't do it consciously. And when we're not breathing properly and we're breathing shallow, like that oxygen isn't going to where it needs to go. So our head is foggier, we feel more lethargic, and actually just breathing properly makes such a difference to our energy and how we're feeling.
Yeah, it's so necessary. Like I always have to check myself, but I do it like it's at the end of the yoga class when you do your quick breaths and slow breaths and then you do the deep ones. I try and do that now when I have a migraine, actually, because I'm like, I feel like I have a migraine because I'm not breathing properly, because I used to think it was from dehydration, but I drink a lot of water, and then I breathe properly and my headache goes away. It's not crazy.
Yeah, and it's just so simple. I know, like I get headaches if I haven't eaten. Like I get really like kind of almost migraine-y headaches if I leave it too long to eat, and then like my blood sugar just goes down, and then it's the headache that I just can't shift.
Yeah, they're the worst. Migraines are so horrible.
They are so bad. But I was gonna say, so if you just thinking back, like just always like self-care and headaches and things, have you done seed cycling?
So I've never done it personally myself. Some of the girls on the team have done seed cycling. It's a lot of like, some people say it's great, some people say that it's not great. I think it can't hurt, because it's amazing for you anyway, and we can always do with implementing more seeds into our diet. But it's one of those things that's kind of like a bit of an old wives' tale, but then old wives' tales were told for a reason.
Yeah, and why is it still going? Like, why people? Yeah. If it didn't work for, because I tried it years ago, but didn't really do it properly. And then you'd shared a post about it, like you've got it on the journal. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do it, because I've been diagnosed with PCOS. So I thought, see how that goes. So I'm in my 2nd month of it, and it's just like the first few weeks of doing the first month, I was sleeping so well, and like felt like it was like really noticeable. And then my acne had like all my like hormonal acne like flared up over the last like few weeks, which I'd managed to clear up from cutting back sugar. So I was like, what's going on? But I usually get quite bad period pains, and they weren't as bad. So I think with the seed cycling, I'm going to keep doing it for at least another couple of months, just to see how it goes. So I'm just trying to get my hormones like balanced, because I think that's probably a lot of reasons. So many women have these hormone imbalances that they don't realize. So like when they're coming to you, probably a lot of the time there's something else going on.
Oh, 100%. I always say that, like, I think this is also the kind of the problem with our generation, is that like we've all had a lot of our problems since we were quite young. And we would go to the doctor like with really bad cystic acne, or with migraines, or with like bloating or weight gain or whatever, and they would just be like, take the pill. Solution, take the hormonal contraceptive pill. And it means that only now, when a lot of us have come off the contraceptive pill, because we're realizing how bad it is for us, we're starting to realize like what's happening in our body. That's why I'm hearing so many more women in their late 20s and early 30s who are like, I've got PCOS. I had no clue I had PCOS.
Yeah, but also the solution to PCOS from the doctor is go on the pill, which blows my that just blows my mind in itself.
Like putting like sort of like pharmacy, lab made hormones into your body to help your body heal itself doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And PCOS is actually so much more common than I think people realize as well, because I literally meet a woman every day who has PCOS. There are multiple people on my team, and we are a small team who have PCOS. And I know, and including as well as with endometriosis, I know so many women today who have endometriosis, symptoms which have been masked from being on the pill, and doctors just saying, oh, just go back on the pill or get an IUD to combat it, when that's not really how you should be coping with problems.
Well, even I saw something on Instagram earlier, and I'm laughing because I don't think I was recording at the point that I said to Sasha that I've been on Instagram way too much. But it's just that, someone had posted on there like how many percentage of women have endometriosis, but it takes on average 7 years for it to get diagnosed, because there's not enough research in it, so the doctors aren't informed enough to be able to diagnose it.
They say if you want to, basically, because I saw a doctor once and I was like, I've been getting these really bad cramps and diet's really clean, so I don't think it's anything to do with my gut. And I've had the IUD for quite a long time now, so I was like, I have an IUD and I've got these really bad cramps, and I don't know whether my IUD is shifted, maybe. They were like, no, it's not shifted, and I was like, and they did a scan, they were like, you haven't got PCOS, there are no I've actually had a couple of cysts in my life, but they were like, you don't have any like small little polyps, so you haven't got any cysts. And the lady who did my scans, she was like, you should consider that you might have endometriosis. This is what I'm seeing a lot more these days with girls your age who are having these pains and who don't have any symptoms of PCOS. So I spoke to my consultant. I said, look, I've been advised to really consider that might have endometriosis. How can we go about discovering if this is what I have? Because I'd like to know, know. There's really not much you can actually do if you have it, but I like to know that.
Of course.
And the response I was given was, we'd have to cut you open, and that's just not necessary. So no. I was like, are you serious? That was the only way to diagnose whether I have endometriosis is to do a surgery. And they were like, yeah, there's no other way to diagnose someone. They were like, no. And he was like, and I would just tell you to get an IUD, which you already have anyway. So like, if you're just experiencing some discomfort, you're just going to have to get used to it. And I was like, that's probably the worst advice I've ever given in my life. Like telling someone like, you're in pain quite a lot of the time, but like, there's not much I think I can do about it. So just get used to it and take paracetamol on a daily basis. And I was like, I don't take like painkillers on a daily basis. They're so bad for you. You take them all the time. So
but I think it's like, I don't know. I recently went to, I've been going to like investigate because with my PCOS and been seeing like a fertility specialist, and I got diagnosed with I had Lisa Lister on the podcast a few weeks ago, and we were talking about this because she specializes in like women's health and the connection with the moon and everything. But we were talking about like she got diagnosed with endometriosis, and they're like, well, we'll just have to whip out your womb. That was literally like the doctor's words. Like, we have to whip it out. And she was just like, what? And now she's like with her work, she's healed that now. So luckily she listened to her. I mean, like for some people, I'm sure that is the option. Some people, if they're in a lot of pain, I think you've got to do what feels right for you. But for her, that didn't feel like the right thing. And then she has been able to explore other avenues, and that's helped her. But when I saw the doctor, their specialist, like last time, he was like, right, you've got anovulatory infertility, so I'm not releasing any eggs. But when someone just tells you, and it's like, just take these tablets, and like what's going on here? Like what's happening? And then so I was like, my first question was like, what are the side effects? And he was like, no, there aren't any. But then after the nurse, as she was seeing us out, she's like, do you want me to go through that again with you? And then she like said there are side effects and went through them. So I've been trying to like just obviously get my head around it, trying the seed cycling, been doing exercising, really cut back on sugar, and just trying to be healthier in that way. Because have you read what is it, Woman Code by Elisa Vitti?
Oh, I bought it actually. It's on my shelf.
God, it's such a good book. I think you'd really you'd really find it interesting. But so I've been following some of her like practices to sort of help me. But I really I've got a phone consultation with the doctor again, or the specialist. I'm just going to say, because I haven't taken the medication, I've actually lost it, like not on purpose. That he's probably not going to believe me when I say that.
Like the side effects.
No, yeah, exactly. But I just kind of like, but I will next time just be like, I need the full picture. Like what's going on? Like have I even got any eggs to be released? Am I perimenopausal? Like what is going on? Rather than just like, you're not recently here to take this medication.
That's just not appropriate either for like, you know, there's if you're not giving you enough information, like it's just not appropriate. You should be doing acupuncture though. Have you considered that?
Yeah, well, I booked it, but then lockdown happened.
Yeah.
And then I need to rebook it. So because I've heard like amazing things about acupuncture, but I think there are lots of I went onto like this forum that I'm on, and like just kind of was asking like have people healed their PCOS and anovulatory infertility like naturally and like through diet. A lot of people like was talking about keto and paleo, like they'd said like that had really helped them.
I don't do keto. It's too I get like really bad heartburn from having that diet. But paleo, honestly, I think I really do advocate for it if you're doing paleo clean. The problem with paleo diet is that lots of people are like, I can just eat whatever meat I want to eat. So they're like scoffing down bacon and like they're doing like paleo burgers. So they're like having like really fatty beef patties as long as it's in lettuce. But if you're like keeping your diet quite clean, you're doing chicken and fish, you know, with sweet potato and green vegetables, you know, and you're having like almond milk instead of normal milk, and you're having, you know, a bit of date nectar, whatever, and you know, almond flour biscuit that you make instead of sugar. Then it's I honestly find that is the one thing that I do that really helps to reset my system. Like I do something called the Whole 30 every January. I don't know.
What's that?
I always post when I do it, and then
I feel like I've seen you do it, but then because I think I saw you were doing a juice thing, but I think that was just for like a couple of days.
Yeah, that's just a couple of days, and that's always like the hardest thing for me. But that's just like a quick reset. But every January I do something called the Whole 30, and it's like basically doing dry January, but like extreme. So you can't drink, obviously, but it's basically a really strict version of the paleo diet. So you can't have any processed food, any dairy, any sugar, any grains at all. So like no rice, no quinoa, let alone any gluten, no flour, no cakes or anything. So everything has to be cooked yourself. You basically can't eat out, and you can't really eat anything that's already like made in a packet. You know, you can't be like, oh yeah, like here's like a quiche, I'm gonna heat up.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Can't have that.
Everything from scratch, which I actually find really like soothing for the beginning of the year, where I'm like really focused on keeping and making my own food, because especially this period, like I'm so like just November, December is traditionally like our busiest time of the year. It is for most people anyway. And I literally am just like I live off like energy bars and matcha lattes basically. You know, and then all of a sudden Christmas comes and it's like, here's like turkey and stuffing and roast potatoes and goose fat, and you know, and then New Year's comes and it's like champagne, which I never drink, and I'm like hangover. So I always start at like the 2nd or 3rd of January. I always give myself a couple of days to kind of ease myself into it.
Yeah, I love it. It's like not the 1st, it's like the 2nd or 3rd.
You've been eating like rubbish as well anyway, doing any sort.
You crave it, I think, don't you, anyway, if you after December.
Exactly. So you kind of like, I always like to ease into something, you know, because like if you say like, oh, I'm going to start like a really uber strict like regime, or like the day after I like drink like 2 bottles of champagne and eat like, I don't know, bacon butty at 2 a.m. Your body is going to go into shock. No way. So I always start at like on the like 3rd or 4th, and then it's amazing because you're eating so clean. You know exactly what you're eating. everything is genuinely like, it's full of, is nutrient dense. You're eating fresh vegetables, you're eating, like I normally do a lot of fish, that's normally how I do
Do you
it.
like meal prep?
I try to do a little bit, but like honestly I prefer to just like make sure that I'm cooking every morning and every evening, and then I'm a bit of a grazer anyway, so I'll maybe make like a really big like savory breakfast, a little bit of it like at home, and then I get the rest of it into work and like have it throughout the afternoon, and then I go home and cook my dinner. I think when you do a lot of meal prep, it starts to feel really boring, like a task. On like a
I was just thinking, like, where you're so busy, I'm like, how would you have the time to do all of that?
So you wake up early, like I'm an early riser anyway. I wake up at like 7 a.m, and then I cook. You can eat eggs, so like I'll do like a massive omelette, and I just like literally get kale out of a bag, like break it up, and it's done. You can leave an omelette to cook.
Yeah.
Go off and have your shower and come back, it's basically done. And then and then I love to cook dinner every night anyway, whether or not I'm busy. I always make sure I cook my meals. So I think that's like a really nice way to do, and I think that you should try and maybe do that if you're looking into kind of diet.
I'll look into it. I'm always like, so I used to have like an eating, I don't know if it's related, but I used to have an eating disorder. So whenever I tell myself that so I tried to do Jasmine Hemsley's like reset. She does this Ayurvedic like 2 or 3 day reset. I thought, right, I'm just going to do that. It'll be fine. Have my kachari, have my stewed apples. But I think I got to the first day, I got to like 2 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. My boyfriend came home with a packet of crisps. I was like, give me them. Normally I wouldn't even care. But because I've told myself that I can't have it, I want it more. Like, so then, he was like, I thought you were doing your thing. I was like, I just want one. Just give me one. And then I just ended up eating like the whole packet because psychologically, because I've said to myself I can't have it. But if I hadn't have said I was doing this, if I'd have just said to myself, maybe I'm just gonna have apples for breakfast and then I'm just gonna have the kachari for lunch, if I'd have just sort of said that rather than saying I'm gonna do a 3-day or 2-day cleanse, I probably wouldn't have had that rebellious like wanting to just binge, because then I was like, well, so I have to be careful around that. Because like I psychologically end up just going way over. But I eat, like when I don't make it a thing, I eat healthily.
So it's basically your mind rebels against anything that's like a diet or
completely. Like I think, but I really love, I'm gonna look it up because I think I just need to, because I've been cutting back on sugar, but then it just creeps back in, doesn't it? Because it's just so sneaky.
Everything as well. Like it really is. Like I look at the back of so many packets of things, and it's like sugar. I'm like, why is there sugar in this? Like I don't understand. So then, even if you're not having something sweet and you don't even realize the sugar's in there, your body starts to just like rely on it. And you start craving it. You're like, why am I craving sugar right now? Like I just need it. And sugar is the hardest thing to kick. Like I always tell people who are looking to clear up their diets because of skin-related issues or hormonal issues, that it's like there's 4 things that you have to give up, which really hurt. And someone who eats healthy and doesn't drink often, it really hurts me too to have to give them up all in one go. These days I'm very, very balanced. Like if I want a glass of wine, I'll have one, and I don't drink alone anyway, and I don't drink at home unless I have friends over. But if I'm with friends and I'm at a restaurant, I'll have a glass of wine. I'm not going to be like, if I'm in Italy, I'll eat mozzarella.
Of course.
But it's the 4 things are alcohol, sad, sugar, the hardest, dairy, very hard, especially for vegetarians to give up. And then a lot of us, really love a bit of cheese, even like, or like dairy is the hardest to give up around your period, because all you want is chocolate. And like all the best chocolate has dairy in it. And then gluten. So like, that's for me, the gluten is the hardest one to give up in terms of from a food perspective, because I'm such a foodie. I love fresh pasta, I love sourdough bread and
all the good things.
And so once you give up those 4 things, like you start to feel like, why is life worth living?
Because as you're like, well, I don't really drink, a very rare, like special occasions, if it's a wedding, I'll like drink. But even, actually saying that we went to Margate on Saturday, and we went to this like beach bar thing, and I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna have a little cocktail, because you know, and it just feels like that. Let's just do it. And then I started drinking it, just started going into my head, and I was like, why have I done that? Like, I just don't like that feeling. It's just this kind of like, I guess it's just drunk. It's just that drunk feeling. I think, you know, when your head just gets more like more like foggy. I'm such a lightweight. I've always been a lightweight anyway, but you know, when you just feel that fogginess like coming in, I was like, nah, I like to feel like clear. And so alcohol's like not so, like, alcohol is easy for me. Sugar, I think when I give myself alternatives, so instead, if I was like, oh, I really crave something sweet, then I would make myself a cacao drink with like a tiny drop of maple syrup. So it's all like, so there isn't any like thing in that, and that, well, it's very low, so it's like more reducing it rather than having like again, rather than restricting. But then when it's like gluten and dairy,
it just starts to feel like you start to feel really restricted. Like, I can see how it's so hard, and people are just like, I don't want to do that. Like, when I was in Italy recently, and I was with this really wonderful young girl one day at the beach, and she's so beautiful, but she has the worst hormonal acne. And she was like, I don't know what to do, you know, like, it's scarring me. Like, I'm so young and I'm getting scars in my face. And I was like, babe, I'm sorry, but like, I was like, I know you're Italian. But like, you know, you can't have these things. And she was like, basically all I eat, you know. And I was like, I promise you though, like, if you cut out those 4 things, after 2 months you will see massive changes in your skin. Because the unfortunate reality is that, like, we all don't digest gluten and dairy the way that we used to, because it's so processed. Even having, like, you know, like the best pasta flour, even if you're having really good milk, it's just not how it used to be. And also, like, especially with dairy, our digestive systems were never supposed to digest dairy. Like, that's just the way it is. Delicious as it is, like, humans were never meant to drink cow's milk. Cow's milk is for carbs, you know, and wheat has been so affected through farming practices for years that it's just very, very hard for us to process these days. And sugar is just one of those things that, you know, it's so addictive that we can't even actually have it in moderation. I think that's the main problem with sugar. They say, like, it's more addictive than crack cocaine.
Yeah, even as you're talking about sugar, I was thinking it's like crack. Like, not that I've tried crack. Like, no, I say, but it is that, like, how you would, like, you, once you have a bit, you just want more. But I do think since when I started cutting back the sugar, my acne cleared up straight away.
Yeah.
Well, like over, like, not straight, like, but like over the weeks, it just got less and less and less, and then it completely, like, was gone. But it's only like in the last like week or so since, like, I don't know if that's to do with the seed cycling, if it's like moving I don't know.
This portion of your face from your nose down, you say, is to do with your hormonal balance. So if your foods are negatively impacting your hormones, then you're going to get your cystic acne down on your lower portion of your face. If your food is affecting how your gut is reacting, so if, you know, like eating sugar and dairy and gluten and stuff, the problem is that for some people it's both. For me, it's both. I get spots here and here because I have hormonal balancing and I have very sensitive gut. Some people it's just their gut, so they get a lot of forehead spots. The forehead spots here from your gut. And some people it's just the hormones, like the dairy will just make their hormones go everywhere. You know, you're putting too much estrogen and progesterone from the cow's milk into your own progesterone levels, and they're going all over the place. So that's always a good way as well to figure it out. So, like, if you're not getting any acne on your forehead, then you know it's just that the sugar is literally just affecting your hormones. And so at least you know that, like, at least your gut is in a good place.
Because it's just all around my jawline. It's just there
as well here, like, oh, it's the worst.
They just come up, you know, you can feel like, but you end up just, well, you can't not pick them. Because you're just there, like, you can just feel it, and it's just like, oh.
But also the face masks, having to wear a face mask now.
Oh yeah. Didn't even, I mean, like, I'm not going out that, like, but I've got I bought a silk one.
What's it lined with? So
it's like silk, so it's like the same on like both sides, so it's like natural silk. So because I thought that would be more hypoallergenic and better for my skin.
Very breathable, that's the problem. So like the ones that we've made, we've got silk on one side, then we have a silk satin blend on the inside. That makes it more breathable, and we worked with the designer who made them to find the most breathable fabric.
Oh, okay.
And actually someone commented saying like, is it silk on both sides, because silk is not actually that breathable, and we were like, oh, luckily we already had that advice.
Yeah. Maybe that's the mask then as well.
It's a combination of that and, you know, like we have to be,
and the sugar.
yeah, so there's just so this is, again, it's kind of like we're looking after yourself, you know, like there's never only one answer. There's answers that you to think, like a problem has multiple causes most of the time, which is what makes the problem so bad. Desperately trying to fix it, you know. So with the, you know, it's with the for skin, a lot of the time the masks, you know, you're not using the right fabric for your face, it's terrible. A lot of people are washing their masks often either, so that's a buildup of makeup and bacteria from you breathing on it. And then actually what I'm having to do, which is really expensive, is I'm having to wash my face masks with my face wash, because I would never wash my face with my washing detergent.
Yeah,
it reacts with my skin. So, and
wow,
my face, you know, like you wouldn't.
Wouldn't it? That makes so much sense though.
Yeah. So I'm having
like,
to.
This is what I need to do. Yeah.
Yeah. With my face wash, but I use Drunk Elephant face wash. So I'm like, Drunk Elephant, please sponsor me.
Yeah. This is like global top tip. If you're getting acne, wash your mask with your face products. I'm using Drunk Elephant.
Sponsor me.
Yeah, look at my face, beautiful.
Like, you know, like it's, you know, if you've got an affordable face wash that works for you, that's the best thing to use really, to wash your face mask, because you're going to be putting on your face the exact thing that you wash your face with. So
yeah, that makes so much sense. Didn't even like all of these things that we have to think about now. Like it's like whole other face mask cleansing. It is mad. So ashwagandha, like you were saying, I'm thinking back to just like the adaptogens. Like what adaptogens would you say were kind of like good for like hormonal health?
So they all basically help you. They all help with different hormones in your body. We have
how do adapt? So I think I know how adaptogens work, but I'm not going to explain it. How does adaptogen? What does it mean if something's an adaptogen?
Basically means it helps your body cope with stress.
Okay.
But stress can be in so many forms. Stress, like the way we think of stress isn't necessarily the way our body processes stress. Stress is basically our body being like, we can't handle what's being thrown at us, and all of a sudden the way we're balanced is all haywire. Our body, our physiology is literally stressed, versus us just being like, I have loads of things to do, you know. There's like a difference. So it helps your body to adapt to stress, to environmental stresses essentially. So that's called an adaptogen. And all adaptogens are healing herbs, and most healing herbs are adaptogens, but some of them aren't technically adaptogens, but they kind of all do good things for your body. So we've actually started to say healing herbs more often than adaptogens, just because the word adaptogen as well is super scientific.
Yeah.
People are confused by it. Healing herb sounds a bit nicer,
yeah,
easier to understand. And they're basically almost 19% of the time interchangeable. So there are so many different ones. Ashwagandha, as we were just talking about, is I always say it's like the gateway drug of adaptogens, because it helps your body to reset your cortisol levels. So cortisol is the hormone produced by your adrenal gland, which is what also puts your body into flight or fight mode. So it's kind of the thing when your body is like, oh my God, like I'm late, or I have so much to do, or, you know, like I'm all over the place, and you're kind of stressing out that way. You get pumped full of cortisol when you go for a run, you know, and you're really pushing. Remember we talked about like pushing that limit, pushing your body past what you think it can do. You produce a lot of cortisol.
Oh my God! So then I'm like,
it's good for you. It's good for you.
That's good.
I don't think you're cortisol on your.
I'm like, no, not the running.
Cortisol is like a seesaw. You need to be in the middle. You don't.
Right. Okay.
I think you might notice that a lot of fitness instructors who teach a lot and who exercise during their own classes, so who aren't just like shouting orders, a lot of fitness instructors have very bad skin, and a lot of the time it's because they have too much cortisol in their body, and that's affecting their skin. So you want to have a little bit, but not too much, basically. And so what we're finding kind of in today's day and age with our generation is that we're producing more than we need to, because we're constantly putting ourselves through so much stress. Exercise isn't the cause of it, really. As a lot of people think it's multitasking too much, it's the pressure of social media, and our minds constantly worrying and playing that comparison game, and it's causing a lot of emotional stress, which is in turn causing a lot of physical stress within our body. It's online dating and the stress of that. It's now dealing with a global pandemic and how that affects us as an individual, us as a collective, our relationships, our job security, the health of our family members and family members of those that we love. So that's cool. That just causes us to feel a lot of stress within our bodies and causes our cortisol levels to spike. So ashwagandha just helps to bring us back to an equilibrium. If your cortisol levels are too low, if if you basically produce too much sometimes and you end up dropping, you kind of go like this and then you go down like this, it's very steep, then it helps to bring you back to a good place. If they're starting to get too high and you're not yet kind of at the peak where you're about to crash, it brings you down to where you're supposed to be. So I think that's always a great like entry level herb. I always tell everyone that anyone can benefit from ashwagandha.
As soon as I've got off this, I've literally just run out, so I'm gonna order some more off the website.
And then in terms of women's hormonal balance, we have a herb called Chatabara, which is actually in my drink at the moment because I'm drinking yoni moon milk. That's
my favourite, yeah.
That's what Chatabara is. So Chatabara is an Ayurvedic herb that comes from the asparagus family, and it's been used for like literally centuries in Ayurveda to help with women's hormonal balancing, with fertility issues. It actually also helps with breast milk supply for new mothers. So it's just a great tonic.
What's the name for it? It's like a nickname. Is it the women with like 50 husbands or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it does increase your libido a little bit. I don't know. I haven't noticed. I don't know whether. Mum, don't watch this. But I found that Chatabara is amazing. We actually never used to sell it because we've always had it in this drink, and this drink has been so popular. And lots of people have found that the Chatabara has really helped with so many issues, and they didn't want to always have to have the yoni, so that's why we like launching it. But there's actually a girl who comes into Global quite a lot, and she drank the yoni moon milk every day through lockdown, so for 3 months, and many of her PCOS symptoms went away as a result of it.
Oh my god! Okay, so maybe that's what I just need to do.
So I think there are obviously many things that you should do, but maybe try drinking the yoni every day. I think it is one of many things that can help. But she said that she had lost her period for years. Her and husband trying to conceive, so obviously not having her period was a huge stress in that situation.
Of course.
The period came back, and she hadn't had any new polyps on her ovaries, so that was amazing as well. And it was probably a combination of many things. I think lockdown gave people a chance to relax.
Yeah.
As stressful as it was, it gave our bodies a chance to relax, because we're so used to like going here, going there, going everywhere. We as a generation, we just do too much. We need to learn to be able to sit and be present, we were discussing earlier. So I think it's a combination of probably that a little bit, and also taking the Chatabara.
Yeah.
But it's strong, it's very strong, and it's been used for centuries for a reason. And that's what I love the most about these herbs. Everyone always says, because they aren't tested in terms of efficacy as much as a lot of Western medicine is over here in the West. So people are like, well, there aren't as many. There are lots of research actually, but there just isn't as many. They're like, how do you know then? And I'm like, well, if natural doctors of India are still using the same tonic that they've been using for like 500 years,
and people are going back to them because it's helping them,
it's for a reason. Just for a reason. And you know, a lot of Western medicine actually originated from a lot of these plants.
And that, I guess that the conspiracy theory on that is the fact that they can't be patented.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why the research isn't there.
Exactly, you know, and I think there's going to be a lot of tune changing in our lifetime about how the West accepts these medicines. I mean, we can even just see now with how people are accepting CBD more beforehand, you know. And I know a lot of doctors our age who used to roll their eyes at even the mention of CBD, and then today, you know, I know so many young doctors who tell their patients to consider taking CBD for chronic pain, or for arthritis, you know, or topically as well. You know, there's so many rubs and stuff like that for your mum. And that's only within the last 3 to 4 years I'm seeing this shift in mentality. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like in 20 years.
Yeah. Well, even the fact like you had the pop-up in Topshop with the herb bar, like that in itself.
Yeah, like they were like, yeah, we really love the concept of moon milks and adaptogens. Can you come into Topshop? They were like, Topshop is literally the most mainstream, like high street brand that you can get. You know, and for me, that was like a major acceptance of what we were doing and being able to show it to such a wide audience as well. Because, you know, like the beauty of our space is we have this amazing community, as you said, like everyone knows each other and everyone works together. We all cross over each other and we all work together in some capacity. But it does mean it's like the same person, same type of person coming in every day.
Yeah.
So to be in Topshop and sharing the story and sharing the moon milks with like just a normal girl who might have heard of Ayurveda before was such a great experience. I loved it.
And for anyone that is like, what is a moon milk? What would you class as a moon milk?
So I would say that a moon milk is basically a non-caffeinated latte that is infused with superfoods and functional herbs. So that's kind of like my official definition for it. Also does sound complicated. So it's basically a hot or cold drink made with almond, oat, hazelnut, or coconut milk. With like things like cacao and beetroot powder in it, and then some of our weird and wonderful healing herbs. And anyone can make them really. Like I've done quite a few workshops on them on Zoom and IGTV through since lockdown started. And I showed people how easy it was. I was like, all you need to do is literally boil some milk on the stove and then blend some things in it. And you can get it wrong. Like, you know, if you like chocolate, put cacao in. If you hate chocolate, put a bit of turmeric in. If you hate turmeric, a little bit of beetroot powder in, you know, like whatever herb you've got at home, or we'll go on our website and read about the different herbs and just pick the one that works for you. Because I might be teaching a class where I'm using cordyceps, which is a medicinal mushroom for inflammation, but you might not feel that's for you. That's okay. You love that herb, but you love that recipe. Just love that herb for the one that makes sense for you. Maybe it's Shatavari because you have looking to alternative ways to heal it. Maybe it's Mucuna pruriens because it's a dopamine producer and you've got the blues, you know.
That's good for like January blues.
It's the best, and literally like it makes you feel happy almost immediately after you take it.
I need to order that as well. I hope that isn't sold out.
Because it's quite new. People are still learning about it, but it's so good. Like it's so good.
I love having it because I've got my little like jars at home, and it feels like I'm doing like a little magic spell. I'm like making a potion, and I've got like my cacao or my matcha, and I'm adding my like ashwagandha and my like moringa powder and like different things. And it's nice, and I think even using that moment when you're making that moon milk for yourself as an intention, as a like setting your intention for the day or how you want to feel, and having that as a mindful practice that doesn't count as the meditation but having it as a mindful practice
is like I always tell people, like it's like in the end of the, like for me, I try to do them at the end of the day, although I really needed one right now. And I always tell people it's literally like it's a small moment. It takes like 5 minutes to make a moon milk, but it's just a small moment where you can focus fully on something that you know is going to nourish like your soul, to nourish your body, your soul, because it tastes delicious, like it's amazing, and it's like a process, but also nourish your body. It's giving you things you need. Like if you've got cacao in it, you know, you're giving your body magnesium, which will help you relax and help you sleep better. It's giving your body theobromine, which is going to help release happy hormones, giving your body antioxidants. You know, if you've got ashwagandha in, then it's giving your body a way to reset your cortisol levels. Got, you know, almond milk in, it's, you know, you're already giving yourself a better alternative for, you know,
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
But you're giving, you have almond milk, you're giving your body already an alternative that's going to be easy to digest, and so it's just this amazing practice that I think is just so quick and easy.
And even as you're sipping it, having that, like taking it, like you said earlier when we were talking about eating, like don't be on your phone while you're drinking, like take that moment to make that drink, sit down, have your feet firmly on the floor or like cross-legged, and just have that moment for yourself to drink that drink mindfully and really kind of connect the flavors and visualize it nourishing you.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's so important. Like I tend to, in the evening when I have my moon milk, I tend to just basically like sit and do nothing with it. And sometimes it's a nice way for me to reflect on the day that happened, and think about the lessons that I've learned and stuff like that, because otherwise we just kind of like start running on fumes and we don't have experienced.
Sorry, my back.
Lost you. No. Technology in 2020.
No.
Yes. Yeah.
Because my battery's going to go in a minute, I think, and I can't. I've only got one port.
It's the worst.
So I need to get a multi one.
Yeah.
But I think that's like for me, like I'll have so like if I need to focus on something, I want to work like for writing, I'll always make myself a cacao drink because I find that just helps me. Like coffee just makes me too buzzy and like fizzy.
Hard to focus on coffee.
Yeah.
Really, unless I'm going to exercise.
So I always have like cacao is like my kind of like ceremonial drink, but it also really does help clear my mind and get me out of my head. And it helps me kind of like get on with work. But it's so like I just love a nice drink, so like that's my kind of for creativity. But I'll have like a matcha like mid-morning to kind of like as just my moment, and then like in the evening like what do I have in the evenings? I don't know, either a cacao, another cacao, or no, I don't normally have two in a day, but yeah, either a cacao or like a chai latte or something, or turmeric latte.
I love matcha so much. I have like 3 a day.
Yeah.
Process of making it, and it's such an ancient practice as well. I'm like, so many people have been doing this before me for so long. And I think that's just something really beautiful in that. Like I really love that's one of the main things that I really love about my job is the idea of bringing in things from the past and like modern consumers essentially enjoy them.
Yeah, it's just having, I guess, reverence for these things.
Yeah, it's really special.
Okay, so my battery's going to run out and I don't want us to get cut off. But as like this question that I've been like asking like all of my guests, because I feel like we could talk for hours. I feel like we could talk for hours. But something that I've been asking all of my guests like on the show is, because this series is called like, Another Phase, like if you could go back to another phase in your life, like whether it was to just enjoy that moment or give you like maybe do it differently or give yourself advice or something you've learned from, what would that phase be for you?
Ooh, I think that I would go back to when I was at school, when I was about 16, and maybe reevaluate what I was planning to do with the rest of my life.
Ooh.
I feel that I put so much emphasis on academic performance when it didn't come naturally to me. Like I did like math AS level. I just felt like I was supposed to because I'm Asian. And I put myself under so much stress to perform to a standard that wasn't me and that I could never really measure up to. And I think it made me so unhappy. And I would basically maybe reframe how I looked at my life and ask myself what I enjoyed doing, and maybe tell myself from this part that I loved to do things with my hands, and I love to be creative. And just because I couldn't paint a perfect apple the way it looked in front of me didn't mean that I wasn't creative. I was told so often that I was terrible at art, but I'm actually an incredibly creative person. And I think I would give myself that advice so that I could maybe shift how I looked at my skills and what my value was to the world. So
I guess that's something that you, through doing your like what you've been doing, that's just reprogramming that now, aren't you?
Yeah, I really am. I'm, you know, like I was talking to my mom about it, you know, and she was like, who would have ever thought that you could do ceramics? And I was like, well, actually, like, people I do ceramics with tell me I'm not that bad at it. You know, but I was like, you told me I was terrible at art just because I didn't have that one specific skill that you needed to have just to art. You know, and even if you know, through Global, like, that's an expression of my creativity, you know, the concepts that I brought together, branding of the space, the design of the space.
It's all creative.
You know, yeah, it's like, it's an expression of how I see the world and how I want to share that with other people, and that's creativity. But I spent so many years of my life, I would say literally until I was 27 years old, thinking I was not a creative person at all, thinking that I was only good and I was only supposed to be good, and my only worth was to be good at, you know, the side of your brain that's about numbers and about strategy and about academic performance, you know. And I think that was a really sad way to live the first like 27 years of my life.
I think that's like an old school way, because I think when I was at school, I thought it was like, you finish school, you go and get an office job, or you do something. Like, it never entered my mind, because it's like that you could do something creative and earn a living, because it's that stigma around the poor creative starving artist.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just don't realize. And I think it wasn't until like, I don't know, like maybe a little while, no, longer than a little while ago, but I just realized, I was like, you can do, I remember when I was working in Ibiza, like some of my friends there were like, yeah, I've been doing illustration at uni. It's like, you can do illustration at uni. Like, if I'd have known that you could do courses like that at university, I would have gone to university. Like, I would have done that. But I think the school that I went to, and my mum was very much like, I want you to go to university, I want you to go into business, because that's what she thought success would be, and I would be set up for life if I got a job, if I followed that path. So, but probably similar, I don't know where that's the Aries, but I was like, I know what I want to do. This is not for me. I'm going to go into hairdressing, because I don't know, this isn't what I want to do forever, but this is the right thing. Mum was like freaking out. She's like, oh my God, like you're just gonna not get anywhere. Like, you're just gonna be stuck now. Like, if you don't go to uni. And like, in a nice way, like, I've proved her wrong, and she's like super proud, but that's just based on her experience of what they think success is, isn't it?
And it's changing so much with our generation. As difficult as it is to manage our lives with the constant access to technology, it is giving us so much access to different ways of living, and also a platform to different ways of living. So beforehand, you know, people might not have been able to actually create a career out of healing, you know, doing quietly with their friends or out of their house, you know, with just some people in their neighborhood. But then having access to social media, having a platform to share your knowledge with people can help you to create an entire people who love what you do, and then that in turn makes it a career. So, you know, I think our generation is so lucky in that sense that we can do anything we want to and make it a job.
Yeah, there's more. It's just a broader scope of opportunities, I think. And if it doesn't exist, there's more. You can kind of create it.
You should be a plant doctor.
Yeah.
Like, there's a guy in New York who goes to people's flats and tells them what plants they should buy and where they should put it, and then he goes with them to the plant shop and does that shopping for them.
Gosh, amazing.
Like interior plant,
like stylist, personal
shopper. Like, that's his whole job, because he loves plants. You know, like in our parents' generation, that job would never have existed ever.
No, or it would have been so niche.
Yeah, exactly.
So niche. So for people that are listening, like, where can they find you? Where can they buy your healing herbs?
So you can buy our healing herbs online, globalldn.com. We're also stocked in Planet Organic and on Feel Unique. And then you can find us on Instagram. So it's Glowbar LDN for Instagram. And if you need me personally, it's Sabapathy, which I know is quite long. You can go through the Glowbar one and type in Sasha.
Find it. Amazing. Thank you so much, love. It's been so good talking to you.
Thanks, Tamara.
Loved it. Thank you.